So exercise and appetite, and there's been a lot of work on this over time, and it doesn't really excite me any longer, but let me just summarize it for you. It does not acutely increase appetite, acutely. And in fact, vigorous exercise may lead to a temporary suppression, People have looked at the hormones, so leptin, there's no effect of exercise unless the training is associated with fat loss. So which is it, the fat loss or the exercise? Effects often attributed to the diurnal leptin changes. Ghrelin, the acylated type that affects appetite, is increased levels last approximately an hour after exercise. And PYY, increased levels may remain elevated for more than 3 hours and then return. And then GLP-1, increased levels may last 30, 60 minutes. So this is impressive and it's interesting, but the thing is, just because the appetite goes up doesn't mean that they eat, right? We don't know if that's true. So years ago, Dr. Pissigny, who's the director of our research center back then, did a lot of work in this area. He's on all three of these papers. And basically, they found that sometimes it went up, food intake, sometimes it was equivocal, and sometimes the calorie intake went down. So basically, we don't really know, right? And this was the nicest study to tell that we don't really know. This was investigating weight change variability with exercise and no diet. So they had 35 men and women with a BMI of 31.8. They had them do these exercises. They designed it so that they would burn 500 calories every exercise session. They worked out 5 days a week for 12 weeks, and there was no diet, and they were instructed not to lose weight. That's easy to do, right? People don't want to lose weight anyway, right? So look at the variability, right? This is body weight and body fat. It goes all the way down like this, right? All the way up here, all the way down here. And by the way, this is how all weight loss studies look. Whether it's a medication trial, or even surgery sometimes. Our weight loss program looks just like this. Some people respond better than others. It's just how it is. It's always this way. Always, always, always. I have this graph on my wall in my office, and I keep looking at it, and I try to figure out what are we going to do different, because it always looks like this. So these people exercised, and so then what they did was they wanted to see if they could figure out maybe, I don't know why it's changed the color there. But anyway, they looked at what they called the compensators, and the compensators were the ones who ate more in response to the exercise, and their hunger rating went up. Can you see that, the numbers? 6 point, yeah, it's white on the screen here. And then they ate more, right? They were hungry and they ate more. They measured their hunger rating on a visual analog scale. And the non-compensators, the ones who lost weight, they in fact reduced their calorie intake, but they had no change in their hunger. So for whatever it's worth, the variability is what's important, and we don't know. So in practice, if exercise increases appetite, so if somebody comes to you and says, I'm getting really hungry when I exercise, this is what you say. When did they eat last? If it's been more than 4 hours, then they're going to probably be hungry anyway. If they exercise in the morning after 12 hours of fasting, they're going to probably be hungry anyway, right? And the exercise might create a calorie deficit, but it's not clear that the body really knows that if there's a calorie deficit, it should eat. That's not certain. Then you want to ask about the macronutrient content of the last meal. If they had lemon ices half an hour before exercise, and that's the last thing they've had for a long time, they're probably going to be starving, right? So they need some protein when they're hungry, and hydration status as well. So sometimes people eat when they're thirsty, so you want to have them make sure that they stay hydrated. If they haven't eaten in hours before, I instruct them to have maybe a protein bar, just something with some protein, maybe 30 minutes or so before. But you always want to watch the calories also. You don't want to have people eating, over-consuming. But if they're really starving afterward, then you can try that, and sometimes it cuts the appetite a little. So can